Welcome to the Voice of Seven Thunders, a production of the Gospel Trumpet Publishing Company. We're here, session 4 just completed.
Yes.
Brother Ray, you just got done teaching the lesson, and you dealt with actually the first 3. So this is the first session where we actually dug into the Revelation.
That's right.
So you dealt with the first 3 chapters, but in dealing with the 3 chapters, you dealt with actually one particular thread of thought.
Right.
So why don't you give us just a quick recap of that, help the audience to kind of those that might look at this to kind of get a better feel. What was it that you're trying to give us?
Trying to set the congregation up to understand how the book of Revelation is written. Mm-hmm. One, it is in symbolic language, and then how Christ and the church is mingled together, and then in its letters and speaking to the different congregations, always referring back to the description of Christ throughout the first chapter, which will happen throughout the book of Revelation. And it's setting the case, or setting the foundation on which to move forward.
Mm-hmm. So you started off with the title of the book.
Yes.
To talk about that.
So
even in our Bibles,
even in most Bibles, it says the revelation of John,
Saint John the Divine,
Saint John
right?
the Divine,
All right.
and it's a revelation of Jesus Christ, which was given to John, but a revelation of Jesus Christ. And I think it's very important to know that, because there's much confusion comes from the book of Revelation, and we get off of Christ, and it's something else, but it's the revelation of Jesus Christ given to John.
Amen. Amen. Brother, I want to know if you could talk about just a particular point in the message, because I think it would seem strange to some people. So the revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass, and sent and signified it by his angel,
Yes,
unto his servant John.
Yes.
And you stated that this angel,
yes,
was the 7th trumpet ministry that showed John this
Yes.
revelation. So my question is this: how can we explain for the people how an angel in the future of John
Yes.
can show John a revelation?
Well, of course, this is a revelation to John.
Of course.
This is, he says, as he said, on the Lord's day, he was in the Spirit. And while in the Spirit, Christ took John throughout the gospel dispensation of time and
Yes.
showed him what was going to happen.
Yes.
As he says, things which must here shortly come to pass.
Mm-hmm.
So in this revelation, he is
That's
being talked to by the ministers, or by the angel at the end. Mm-hmm. And really that makes sense, because
Yes.
no other angel could talk about the entirety of the gospel day except it be the one that's at the end.
So you're saying the point is that John is looking forward, just like prophets of old have done.
I've always done that.
He's looking forward, and he sees something in the future that reveals to him exactly what's going to happen.
That is exactly correct.
That's excellent.
Isaiah did that when he said, "Unto us a son is
Yes,
born,
exactly.
and unto us a child is given." And he looked in the future, John looked in the future and saw our time.
Excellent. I have one more question.
Okay.
Brother, can you tell us something about why you opened up in Mark?
Oh, yes.
To me, this is a strong aspect. Brother, the viewers, they're going to have to see this. But why open up in Mark, and what were you trying to do there?
So what I was trying to do is to prove to the congregation that the book of Revelation, or the book of the Bible, is a book of symbols. Mm-hmm. It is a book of picturesque language, not just the Revelation, but the entire Bible. So we don't look at Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John as one type of writing, and then we get into the Revelation and it's a different type of writing.
Yes.
And all I'm trying to do is saying that the Revelation is the one book inside of the Bible, and Mark, Matthew, and John writes very similar in the same.
So what was the text that you gave in Mark? Like, what were you trying to convey with the text?
Well, when Jesus said, if your hand offend thee, cut it off, that he wasn't referring to actually cutting off your hand, but it was a picturesque view to cut off things that offend against the gospel, or offend you to eternal life, and cut those things off, even though there's things that are dear. But he says it in a way that you cut your hand off, cut your foot off, pluck out your eye. It's a picturesque.
It's a symbol.
It's a symbol. It conveys a message. Actually, you can't convey it in any other way.
Any other way.
That's good.
There's really
That's
no
good.
other way to convey it.
It's a picture. So obviously Jesus didn't want us to mar ourselves.
Right.
And so you're just bringing the point of the symbolic language. Excellent.
So we have an image that we use today that actually you referred to from our chart.
Yes.
And let's go to the image of Christ in the candlestick.
Right here.
Let's go one more. We actually have it enlarged. There we
Oh,
go.
there we go.
There we go. So
Yes.
this is an important, this
this
is kind of the main thrust
It
of what we're
was.
teaching today.
That's correct.
So why don't you give us just a very fast overview. There's a lot here to cover. I know you don't have time to do that in this setting. Watch the show that we have, the program that we have. But maybe you could talk a little bit about why this is so important in what we covered today.
Well, the reason I think it's so important is that we find it, first of all, in Revelation chapter 1. So it's the very beginning. It's the base. It's where we start from.
So what was that you said about starting bad, ending good?
Yes.
Oh, that was good.
Yes. So what
that
was
was
that?
good.
I said you could start good and end bad, but you can never start bad and end
End up
good.
good.
Unless you stop.
Unless you stop
Yes,
and start
yes. That was
somewhere,
good.
start good. So I'm saying we had to start out good. And this is the picture that we see in the Revelation right from the beginning, which is going to carry all throughout the Revelation. And it's a picture of Christ and the church mingled together. Well, Christ and the church and the ministry mingled together
Very
as
good.
one entity.
Very good.
Not three separate entities, but as one entity. And that is
The revelation.
the revelation of what will be revealed throughout the Revelation.
So highlight something that you said, that in this actual image that we're physically looking at, it looks like Jesus is behind the candlestick.
Right.
So clarify even that lack of our ability to
Sure.
illustrate what the scriptures give us in spiritual language that we actually should better be able to grasp. in
So
the image.
John's saying that he heard the voice behind him when he turned around. It first mentions the candlestick. It doesn't mention the one likened to the Son of Man, but it first mentions the candlestick. But then it says in the midst. Not behind, not beside, but in the midst, mingled in, a part of,
That's good. That's
made up together. He also saw Christ, and it was all mingled together as one entity. I think a further proof of that is that the stars, which would represent the angels of the different congregations, weren't connected to the actual candlesticks, but was in his right hand. Still all one entity.
Excellent.
And extremely important to understand the Revelation.
Excellent.
It's very
Actually, the base of, if we understand that, the rest of the Revelation becomes much easier to understand.
which is what you did in following chapters 2 and 3, in continually referring back to this image
That's
to
correct.
show this is how the language is going to work.
That's
And actually,
correct.
there's no way to understand Revelation without understanding this, because it's going to continue to renew and say the same things
over and over
refer
and
right
over.
back to it.
That's right.
Excellent.
And I think chapters 2, as you said already, chapters 2 and chapters 3 just was the beginning of that.
It's good.
Unto the angel, and it would name the congregation, he that holdeth the 7 stars, or he that hath the sword out of his mouth, referring back to this image that we drew the best we knew how, but that would be the basis of our understanding.
Very good.
They need to watch that. They need to
Yes,
watch that.
yes. So if you would, go to our website. You can check us out at www.churchofgod.com. On this YouTube video, if you'll hit the subscribe button at the bottom. Share this with your friends. Share this with your local
Yes.
community. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter. You can follow us on Instagram. And we want to thank you so much for watching this particular video. I've been saying thank you for listening on these. So you've been listening to another production of the Gospel Trumpet Publishing Company. Brother, thank you for joining us again.
Oh, thank you so much.
We've got several more meetings to go this week, so continue to watch our live streams, 10:30 Eastern, 7 Eastern in the evening. Thank you so much for watching.